Chapter Moonlit Interlude. Midnight settled over central London, bathing the townhouse in a subtle glow. From the street, Miles Shaw's home seemed quietly unremarkable, a simple row house with tall windows and half-drawn curtains. Yet inside his dimly lit bedroom, a fervent warmth emanated. On the floor, her belongings were scattered in disarray, a delicate lace bra draped over a bedside chair, and a pair of slim-fitting navy blue pants tossed carelessly near the door. Sheila, the Englishwoman he'd met at the museum, was atop Miles, her bare skin illuminated by the moonlight that slipped through the curtains. Their limbs wound together in a languid, impassioned rhythm. Miles's hands moved gently up the smooth expanse of her back, settling on her hips to guide her deeper into each rolling motion. Her body glistened with a faint sheen of sweat, every soft moan punctuating the hush of the night. "You!" Sheila gasped, leaning forward until her lips brushed against his ear. "Do you always show your guests this kind of hospitality?" A playful quiver underlined her teasing tone. Miles let out a low chuckle, half-lidded eyes sparkling as he inhaled the perfume lingering on her neck. "Only those who stun me with their intellect and, well," his breath caught momentarily when she shifted, "their irresistible charm." She gave a mischievous laugh, arching her back so that her breasts pressed against his chest, her hair falling around them like a curtain. "I can't decide which is more distracting, your accent or your sense of adventure." He hooked an arm around her waist, guiding her into a slower, deeper rhythm that drew a soft cry from her parted lips. "So sorry to confound you," he teased, voice low and thick with pleasure. "If it helps, I'm equally at a disadvantage here." Their conversation broke into breathless murmurs, her moans deepening as their bodies rose together. The hush of the townhouse seemed to cradle each intimate sound, each whisper. At one point, Sheila cupped Miles's jaw, pressing kisses to the corner of his mouth as she rocked atop him. "I've never," she managed between shivers of pleasure, "I've never quite had a night like this. So spontaneously thrilling." Miles's hand glided up from her hip to settle on the curve of her breast, gently squeezing, eliciting a heightened moan. The closeness of their bodies, the mingling of their warmth, spiraled them both toward a heady peak. Their hearts pounded in unison as the tension gathered with each rise and fall of her torso. "Gods!" she breathed, tipping her head back, letting the sensations pull her further. "This is..." He shifted slightly, intensifying the contact, and she cried out his name in unabashed pleasure. The final crest arrived swiftly, rolling through them like a surge of electricity. A reverent hush followed, broken only by her shuddering exhalation and his low groan as they climaxed, bodies trembling in shared ecstasy. After a long, breathless moment, Sheila slumped onto Miles's chest, letting out a satisfied laugh that vibrated against his skin. He stroked her hair, face tilted to plant a tender kiss on her temple. The scent of her shampoo and the faint salt of sweat mingled into a sense of momentary bliss. "You're full of surprises," she said at last, rolling off him to catch her breath. She shot him a lazy grin, arms draping over his stomach. "That tour at the museum was good, but I think this outranks it." He snorted softly, propping himself up on one elbow. "I'll be sure to add that to my next lecture. Miles Shaw, archaeologist, also offering specialized personal tours." She let out a playful groan, smacking his chest lightly. "Don't you dare," she teased, then leaned down to kiss him. "I'd better gather my things. Early morning flight." Reluctantly, she peeled herself from the bed and gathered her scattered clothes, the lace bra from the chair, the navy blue pants near the door. Each piece she slipped on felt like reclaiming reality from the dreamlike afterglow. Miles watched, indulging one last appreciative look at her silhouette in the dim light. As she prepared to depart, Sheila hovered at the threshold, a smile flickering across her lips. "That was," she paused with a half-smile, "the best kind of sex I've had in a while?" Miles flashed that confident, lightly teasing grin. "Then let's not forget it too soon. Safe travels. You know where to find me when you're back." She offered a final, lingering kiss. "Don't you worry, I'll be back." And with a swish of her hair, she slipped out the door into the quiet London night. For a long moment, Miles lay still, gazing up at the ceiling. Faint city lights danced across the dark plaster. He drew a deep breath, letting the hush settle around him, mentally bracing for the next day's demands. But for now, amid the scattering of clothes and the echo of her voice, he let a soft smile tug at his lips. A silent acknowledgement that while he might live for the thrill of uncovering ancient secrets, some mysteries in life were delightfully modern. He collapsed onto the bed again, running a hand through his tousled hair, and exhaled. He would have liked her company longer, but in truth, he was used to these fleeting encounters. His line of work didn't allow for much attachment. Miles's apartment, a converted townhouse in central London, spanned 2 floors. In the dim light, the outlines of maps pinned to walls and cluttered shelves of expedition gear were just visible. A laptop on a sturdy wooden desk blinked with notifications. The screensaver showed a rotating gallery of archaeological sites from all over the globe. Nearby, a large bookshelf boasted tomes on ancient Egypt, the Indus Valley, Mesoamerican ruins, and stacks of historical posters. An entire corner was dedicated to camping gear, coils of rope, scuba equipment, and crates half-labeled with cryptic expedition codes. Miles inhaled the faint scent of old paper and coffee grounds. It reminded him of nights spent poring over research, days that started with dusty field digs and ended in musty academic archives. At 32, he had traveled from the Himalayas to the Amazon, led expeditions in Egypt and China, even braved the icy expanses of Antarctica. His name was known among archaeology circles for retrieving relics once thought lost forever, and his articles often graced National Geographic magazine. He lectured now and then at Oxford, gave tours at the British Museum, and along the way he'd collected admirers and enemies in equal measure. Blessed with James Bond-like allure, that confident British accent, a roguish grin, and piercing blue eyes that gleamed with constant curiosity, Miles Shaw never lacked attention wherever he went. He often caught women staring at him from across markets, cafes, or lecture halls, unable to resist the magnetic pull of his self-assured bearing. Yet for all the looks and flirtations, his romances seldom lasted. In the heat of danger or the rush of unearthing ancient wonders, permanence felt impractical. He'd shrug off any notion of settling down with a wry grin, declaring, "I live for today. Who knows if there'll even be a tomorrow?" Now, satisfied but also restless, he sat on the edge of the bed. No matter how thrilling these fleeting nights were, a deeper call always tugged at him. The next expedition. Leaning over, he picked up a short to-do list from the nightstand. Tomorrow, he had to finalize equipment for an upcoming trip. Some wealthy new client wanted his expertise on a rumored find. The details were hush-hush, but he'd seen enough hush-hush projects to know they usually meant big stakes and bigger risks. He tossed the list aside and allowed himself one last moment of stillness, replaying the woman's words. "The best kind of sex I've had in a while." A lopsided grin tugged at his mouth. Then he rose, slipped into a robe, and ambled through the soft glow of the apartment, the hush of London's night beyond the windows. Peering at a pinned map of South America, he murmured to the empty room, "Time to prepare." He thought of tomorrow, half anticipating the tension and excitement that lay ahead. In a life driven by the thrill of the unknown, he could rest only so long. With a quiet chuckle, he let his mind drift once more to the fleeting warmth of that night's encounter. Then, as always, he turned his attention toward the next mystery, the next lost secret beckoning him from a distant corner of the world.